Do you guys remember, back at SCAD when when Fuzz was talking about how he got
oh no,
how his sensei was telling him, he's like, my sensei says if you're ever being like mugged, you should make like
the duck.
Yeah, to quack. And then I was just like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? And he's like, well, because if it's like any sudden noise will distract him, and you just go like whack and hit the gun away from your head. And I'm like, well, what if you shoot you in the head, Fuzz? He's like,
that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard somebody tell another person.
Lesson?
No, I don't remember this.
Oh, he was like a black belt or something, and he said like he was like getting ready to leave for school, and the sensei was like, Savannah's kind of dangerous. Just be careful. If anyone tries to mug you and he has like a gun to you, just really quickly you go quack, and then hit him in the neck, because the momentary quack will make him confused, and he'll be focused on that and not focused on defending himself.
Like his
that is ridiculous.
His brain.
And I was like, that's a good way to get shot.
Yeah,
that's the best way to get shot.
It was,
and then he'll quack at you as you're slowly bleeding out. So.
Yeah. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was as if like the guy's synapses would go, why is this man quacking? Like, instead of, I'm here to do a job, I'm going to get his wallet and leave. It's just like...
That's ridiculous.
Stupid. Like...
Very stupid.
Your last memory will be, I quacked and it didn't work and I got shot in the head.
Indeed.
The sensei's probably dead.
This is true.
And the guy will just laugh and go, what an idiot. Take your wallet. Just leave you there for the buzzards.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, hello everyone and welcome to episode 50 of the HooperCast. Cast. And it is Friday, January 3rd, 2014. It is a new
1-4.
year. 1-4.
Oh my god, I've gone back too far.
That was John and Dustin. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Howdy.
John seems to be the only one, like when we do these, John's like performance as like a podcast guest is like no different from what he's like in real life. This is true. It's just like, I definitely ratchet myself up for this thing. I think Dustin does too, but John's just like, hello, my name is John.
I'm here.
You guys are trying to be someone else. Someone that you're not.
Yeah. John's original.
Playing it up for the camera.
Can I be a container?
Metaphorically speaking.
You're original. Hurricane. Firefly. All right.
Shut up. That's stupid.
Anyway, I'm going to have to learn how to listen to like stupid, dumb music in the next 5 or 10 years, you guys. I'm just trying to ease myself into it.
No. You just got to teach them what's right.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to teach my daughter what good music is in enough time to save her.
You should get her a Rage Against the Machine album.
I need to get her
first year.
Something.
Yes.
First year.
I don't know.
Metallica.
Oh, Metallica.
Yeah. Ride the Lightning.
Just
Great record for children.
just enter Sandman.
Yeah.
You guys are here because we have made lists. And when I say we, I mean everyone here except for me.
Yeah, because you're lazy.
I know.
I checked my list twice.
Santa Claus over here?
I don't even care.
Santa John? Johnny Claus?
Dustin?
What?
Getting a little too familiar here. Better watch your tone.
Okay, I will try. No promises, though.
No, you will.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Try to understand.
Benjamin Franklin.
Try to understand. Try to understand. He's a magic man. All of a sudden, she's a man. Try to understand. And she pulls off her dress, and it's a guy. He's just like, I'm a magic man. And everyone's like, oh! And I got the magic hands.
Am I the only one that thinks that song's a little sad?
I don't even know what it's about.
It's about a girl who leaves home, and her mom's like, come on home, child. And she's like, no, he's a magic man, and he's got those magic hands. and she's just like following some dude around that nobody likes.
Like, is she with him, or is she like obsessing about him? Like, oh, he's a magic man. Oh, really? Well, is he nice to you? Is he funny? It's like, oh, I've never met him. I just follow him across the country. I'm really...
No, it's like she's run away with her boyfriend.
Okay, so she's with him.
And her boyfriend's a jerk, but he has magic hands.
She's with the magic man.
Like,
she is.
Yeah.
It's like Oz.
Hence the title.
It sounds like an abusively sexual relationship to me.
It
is. He's got the magic hands. It sounds like...
I think listening to Heart at all is an abusive relationship.
This is probably true. You don't like Barracuda?
I hate Barracuda.
Is that the one where she runs away with a fish?
Yes.
Yes. It's an electric eel.
He's got the magic fins.
Yes.
Rock lobster.
We all saw movies this year, and some of them are good, some of them were not. But, and some of them are just okay. So I thought we should get together and talk about these and kind of rank them to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't, not that you guys have to count how many you saw, but I'd like to explain to the listeners my lack of a physical list. I saw 11 movies this year, and only like a handful of them were in theaters. The rest of them are retroactively. So I've only seen 11 movies that were released in 2013, and there is a huge list of others that did not make my list, and it's because I can't critique them. So whenever I weigh in, just so that everyone listening knows, if I'm to weigh in on these and talk about, oh, that was probably the best thing I saw this year, it really means the best thing I saw this year. Not that your favorite movie wasn't good, I just probably didn't see it. So I just like to throw that out there because I don't want people being pissed off the whole time because I didn't like, here, I'll give one away, 12 Years a Slave. I didn't see it, so I can't also sit there and agree with you that it's the best film of all time. Anyway.
I didn't see it either.
There you
I
go.
didn't either.
All right, cool. There we go. See, everyone?
It won't be on anyone's list.
Yeah, no one saw it. All right? So, yeah.
You uncultured
The
swine.
trailer alone was the best thing I saw this year.
Dustin, you have probably the most that you actually ranked, so you have a top 10? Yes? No?
Yes, I do. I think before we get started, I want to touch on something that you touched on for a minute, which is, in this day and age, when you rank movies, people get really defensive. Mm-hmm. And I hate that. What is on my list, it may not be on your list, may not be on John's list, may not be on anybody else's list, but it's on my list because I enjoyed it. Movies are subjective. What I like sometimes doesn't translate to everybody else. So I want to be forthright and say, if you don't agree with me, too bad. These are movies I like. And instead of saying the best of the year, I'm going to say these are my favorite of the year.
I will say that as well.
I think that's a better phraseology for that. But I also want to talk for just a second about how I ranked the movies. I have 5 criteria for a film, and when I'm done with that film, then I give them a score, or at least I did for this year because I knew we were going to do this podcast. And so for me, it boils down to story. That's all aspects of story. Then execution. And this is all aspects of execution. So we're talking directing, acting, cinematography, everything right down to the score. As if that was the worst thing. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, so everything.
And even the amount of days it took to film it.
Indeed. And then we have initial impressions. So when I walk out the theater, what is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Then rewatchability. Am I likely to rewatch it? Would I enjoy rewatching it, or am I done with it? And then the last thing is on second thought, which is just, a few days later, a few months later, whatever, looking back, does the movie, how do I feel about the movie on a scale of 1 to 10? So a lot of times that number is the same as it was as on the initial impressions. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Most of the time it remains the same. But basically what I've done is I've scored on a scale of 1 to 10 those 5 items, and then multiplied that by 2 to get a number on a scale of 1 to 100. And so what I will say is that nothing on my top 10 list made an A. Everything is a B plus and down. So, having said that, you know, that's how I rank movies. So there you go. Do y'all want to add anything to that?
Nah. I just ranked them. I
Okay.
didn't get so scientific, but
Well, shut up.
you're making me feel unprepared here.
Well, no, because that's probably better, just a gut reaction kind of thing. But you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd also like to add the reason I didn't even attempt to rank mine is because I saw so few that like they're not really going to be that different from each other in terms of quality. I'm just going to have to mention them on a case by case basis. So
Sure.
yeah, which is weird because Dustin and I do this every year, and I can't remember who brought it up. But I remember thinking like, yeah, I'll just go and make my list. I was real excited, and then I just took a tally. I was like, huh, guess there's less than I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, Dustin, what is your 10th favorite movie of 2013?
My number 10, and I'm sure it's not on either of your lists, is The Book Thief.
What?
What?
Huh?
The Book Thief is a World War II story set in Germany, and basically it's a family that adopts a young girl into their home right at the height of the Nazis' power in Germany, and she grows up under this Nazi regime. And, you know, part of this is they're burning books, so she steals books and hoards them so that, because she likes reading, but the Nazis are burning all the books, so there you go, there's the title, The Book Thief. But the most of the story takes place in just her growing up in this environment, and they have, you know, various complications that arise because of, you know, the Nazi regime, and it's a really kind of a hard movie to watch at times, but it's pretty well done. It was a beautiful movie. The cinematography is amazing, and yeah, I enjoyed it a whole lot, and yeah, so there you go.
Where did you see this film?
We played it at the Savannah Film Festival,
Okay.
and
I was like, how do you just come across like Redbox, The Book Thief? Oh, okay, that's
yeah. No, it was at the film festival, and so I enjoyed seeing that. You know, with a bunch of people. A lot of people were crying. You know, I mean, it's a heavy movie, but it's, for me, I enjoyed the heck out of the movie, and it really speaks to sort of the importance of writing and of literature and of stories, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, well, I guess we'll go to your number 9.
Okay, my number 9 is Mud.
Okay, I heard this was good.
It's got to be the best role that I've ever seen Matthew McConaughey in. Just because it's so... He has such like a charisma about him, which is true in pretty much everything. But this, it's so subdued, his performance. I don't know. It just seems more real than most of his roles ever have, and yeah, it's a really good film. It's kind of a coming of age kind of deal, and I'm a sucker for coming of age movies anyway. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Did you guys see that?
No.
Did not get a chance to see Mud.
Well, now I feel like I'm just naming things, and
Who are you?
Buddy
The
has anything to
Oscars?
say.
With all these
Yeah.
obscure movies?
Oscars. But
I'm just kidding. I The Book Thief was a big movie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this is true. It has Jeffrey Rush in it
Yeah.
and Emily Watson.
Nice. All right, well, what's your number 8, Dustin?
Man, okay. So my
It
number
better
8
be a commercial movie.
is 42.
I'm just joking. Oh, I saw
Did you
that.
see that? Yeah,
I did.
I like 42. I'm
I
sure
thought it was
everybody
good
knows
as
it's
well.
the story of Jackie Robinson, who was number 42.
Hence the
Pretty
name
good.
of the movie.
Harrison Ford is awesome. So there you go.
I thought it was good.
Yes, I enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for coming of age movies. I'm also a sucker for baseball movies. Don't know why, but I am. So there you go.
Because at one time you came of age and you've probably played baseball before.
I have. I have done both of those things.
See,
How was it a coming of age with Matthew McConaughey?
Well, he doesn't come of age.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, he...
I was like, I think he's of age. You know how old he is? He's old enough to party. That was confusing, but I didn't speak up at the time. But now that you mentioned it again, I wanted to ask for clarification.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yes, no, he does not come of age. He's also not the main protagonist. So
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them just like aging him down with CGI? He's like a little kid.
No,
Oh,
I don't even want
maybe-
that. I just want them to put him in high school and pretend he's high schooler, like a high
Yeah.
school kid,
It's like
yes, that would be
and
awesome.
just skirt around the fact that he's like 40. You know,
Yeah.
just pretend he's a 17-year-old kid. That's what I want to say.
it's like Benjamin
It'd be a
Button,
lot cooler if you
except
did.
forward and in Texas.
Yes.
Like he pops out as a baby, he's just like, "Hey, I'm a baby now," and you know that's how the movie starts.
How's
Yes.
it going?
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. Well, what was next for you? Next one.
6.
Would be American Hustle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't seen this yet, but I do plan on seeing it.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. It has such a great cast, and David O. Russell nails the style of the 70s and is just perfect at this sort of like con man type movie. And yeah, it's awesome.
He's really consistent.
He really is. I mean, I'd say this is probably my least favorite of his, to be honest, because I like The Fighter so much, and Silver Linings is really good. But yeah, no, I still think American Hustle. I stand by that. It's a good movie.
Cool.
I really wanted to see that one, so I'm really anxious to see that once it comes out on home video. I won't be able to see it during its theatrical run.
Sure.
But David O. Russell he tends to put out just everything. I don't even know how long his career has spanned.
Yeah.
I can't really name that many of his movies, so I don't know. Really, I'm not really even an authority to be able to say, oh, he puts out good movies. All right, Hooper, name 5 of them. But I really did like both The Fighter and Silver Linings Playbook, and so he's kind of becoming that director where he's going to put out something once a year or every 2 years, and it's going to be really good, and it's going to have a really good cast. And it really shows when you have actors who want to work with them again. You know, there's Christian Bale, there's Bradley Cooper, there's Jennifer Lawrence, there's Amy Adams. You know, like the entire cast, pretty much, except for Jeremy Renner, has worked with him before. And after a while, that's not like a coincidence with like booking and like, oh, well, you're ending up working with David O. Russell again. And these are big actors who can say no to a lot of things. So when people like that choose to work with someone like that again, especially when he is notorious for being like really hard to work with on set, or he's really demanding, like he has a reputation for that kind of thing.
Sure.
It tends to show you that like, well, enough people think that it's worth it because he gets good performances out of people, and his movies tend to have really good, like kind of how people normally think of Steven Soderbergh. Like he brings out good performances in people, and he always works with a really good ensemble cast, and his movies are always at least fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. He has a really cool style, I think.
Yeah,
The way he uses music and everything, yeah.
Yeah, he tends to have his movies tend to have a good pace too.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're at number 6 here,
Number 6.
and then we'll hear from some other people.
Yeah.
I'll shut up for a minute. Number 6 is About Time.
Oh, I wanted to see that one
crap.
too. I never got around for that
Which
one.
one was that one?
It's the one with Bill Weasley and Rachel McAdams, Domhnall Gleeson.
Okay. Oh,
You heard about
that's
this?
the one where she's playing another spouse to a time traveler.
Indeed.
Yes, okay.
This is true.
I heard about this one.
So
She's
here's
typecast.
what yeah, for real. She's been typecast for quite a while.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what I want to say about this one, though. This movie, to me, like, yeah, there's like a romance kind of deal to it, but it's it does not. It's not to me a romantic comedy. To me, this is just a drama about a dude who has this ability and uses it both for good and not. But it's really a father-son story more than anything. And to me, at least that's what I took away from it. I'm sure, looking at it through the eyes of someone else, you're going to see different things in it. But what I took from it was the father-son story, and that's what I latched onto, and that's what I found the most inspiring. So, anyway, for me, yeah, About Time. It's a fun movie. There's some weird things in it that I think I probably would have done differently had I been, working on this film. But yeah, it's a good movie, and I'm also a sucker for time travel. So there you go.
Cool.
All right. So awesome. I stand by that. How about we hear from you guys? Since I just named 5 movies and none of y'all had anything to say about them. Nobody saw them.
I haven't seen them.
I saw one of them.
This is true.
Yeah, I guess I'm mostly at fault there.
Do you want to go, Hooper, or do you want me to go?
Why don't you say you're number 5, John?
Okay. My number 5 was Despicable Me 2.
Oh.
I don't know if either of you saw that.
I did not.
I thought it would happen, and then it didn't.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it. It just kind of got away from me.
But, yeah, I thought it was a good sequel. It took the story it wasn't just the same plot all over again. It was a different story completely, and yeah, I thought it was fun. It was good. It's a good sequel.
How does it rank with the first one? Is it better? Would you say?
I don't know if it's better. I wouldn't say it's really worse either, though. I think it might be slightly worse. But not by a wide margin or anything like that. It was pretty solid. So
tell me this, because there are some who would say that some that I'd heard when the movie came out that were talking about how they felt that these kind of movies that they're being pumped out of anywhere, but particularly for DreamWorks, really until recently, have so many I don't want to say manufactured laughs, because any movie has manufactured laughs, but they're complaining about the Minions and how the Minions are basically being chipmunk voiced little sight gags are kind of, it's almost like a cheap grab for laughs. Do you feel that way, or do you think there's nothing wrong with that? I mean, especially compared to the last film, or do you feel like it's a movie for kids and there's nothing wrong with that?
No, I like the Minions. I think they're funny. I think it's just they're kind of like Three Stooges type characters, to where they're just. I don't think it's a cheap grab or anything like that. I think it's just kind of slapstick humor, and they say a bunch of funny nonsense that I don't know, doesn't equate to anything, but it's funny. So I like them. And one of my worries about this was that they were going to overdo it, and the movie was going to kind of be the Minion movie, and it wasn't. It wasn't that at all. So. That was a relief. Gru was still the main character, and the movie centered around him. So that was.
See, I don't. I'm gonna kind of agree with John here, even though I didn't see it. But I don't feel like the Minions are that bad of a plague. I think it's kind of, yeah, they're probably designed for kids, but
yeah.
But I don't think that the humor is cringeworthy to an adult.
No.
There are things.
And this wasn't DreamWorks either.
Right, this is true.
Yeah.
Wait, who was it?
It was Illumination, which is Universal's in-house.
That's right. Yeah.
Animation company.
It's something. Okay, we'll get personal here. It's something that I'm worried about. You want to raise your kid to be I don't know, have good taste and blah blah blah. Certain things are very good for children, like movies like this, where it's just, look, it's funny things happen. Sight gags work well with kids because they don't know what's going on. They just know he sounds funny and he hit him and that's funny. At a certain point, it gets into an area where you need to move them away from that kind of humor and into smarter humor. I've heard other parents who've podcasted about this topic, and I didn't know that's kind of an area I'm wary of, because it's like after a certain point, I'm going to have to steer to. I don't know if I'm articulating it the way I wanted to. Now I just sound kind of like an asshole, but I'm thinking that it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. Like, how are you going to sort of teach them through this medium? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there are some adults who prefer this kind of thing to like a Jerry Seinfeld joke or something. Like, stuff that would consider way funnier. Like, is it all subjective, or do you think some of it at a certain point is kind of weird that I don't know.
Well,
I sound like a huge critic right now.
The movie is funny on its own. The minions and the slapstick is only a small part of what the overall movie is, and a lot of it is kind of word-based humor, and the kind of the sight gags and all that is in there, but it's a very small part of the movie. There's a lot of smart writing.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to worry too much about teaching someone comedy or teaching someone taste.
That's true.
Because I mean, first of all, taste is subjective. As a parent, as a friend, as anything, you're going to disagree with people around you on things constantly. It's just going to happen. I don't think, and I guess my point is, I don't think that any particular medium or any particular way of doing things is necessarily just for a demographic.
Right.
I would agree with that, yeah.
So for me, it's like there are parents out there that say, okay, at a certain age, my kids have to stop watching Disney movies because they're childish. But I think that's ridiculous, because it's adults who make these movies. It's adults who dream these things up. And if they're dreaming them up, then it's certainly okay for a 13-year-old to watch a cartoon. It's certainly okay for a 64-year-old to watch a cartoon. And I don't think that at any point there's a cutoff for slapstick or for, annoying type gross out humor or, whatever it is. I think as you age, my parents didn't teach me. I don't remember them sitting me down and saying, okay, the Three Stooges are funny, but this isn't, or whatever. It's just gradually you, as a person, you grow to learn exactly what makes you laugh, and that becomes your taste. And so I wouldn't worry so much about saying, okay, I'm going to hate if she listens to Katy Perry because she needs to listen to the Rolling Stones. It's more of, let's, let her be herself, or let anyone be themselves.
I don't want my daughter to listen to the Rolling Stones.
Well, I can't say I blame you. But.
Yeah, yeah, the only thing I think she's going to be learning directly from me is probably that farts are funny, because I think that's just a universal truth. Farts are always funny.
This is true.
Yes. If the listeners don't know what I'm talking about, please see episode 36, Fartconomics, for my theory on farts and history. Correction, it's episode 39. You guys know my theory, right?
Yes, I do. I've listened to that.
Yes.
John, do you know my theory? Okay, so you're both familiar. Okay, cool.
And I agree with it.
I think it really holds up. I think I should get a fucking Nobel Prize for that. Like, just congratulate Mr. Hooper. The reward goes to Hooper for his theory of fartconomics. I'll just go up there like, thank you guys, thank you. It's a huge honor. Actually, I want to thank my and just run off the stage.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think I'll make my family real proud. My parents will be so excited to be my mom and dad.
To put that on the holiday card, like
just to put on
this year. Yeah.
Hooper won the prize for a stupid fart theory that really is a no-brainer. It's just the first idiot to go to the Nobel Committee to apply for the award. Okay, well, it's good, because I knew I was going to end up seeing Despicable Me too, because as soon as it hits Redbox, Mrs. Hooper's going to be on it. And so I didn't know what I was in store for.
I think, too, when you're talking of animation, it kind of like Dustin was saying, the best animation is something that can be accessible to anyone. It's just another medium to tell a story. So with something like this, anyone of any age group can watch it and find something that they enjoy, some humor that they enjoy. There's a lot of adult humor. There's a lot of humor for children. There's something for everyone, and that's I think a lot of the DreamWorks movies sometimes don't have that, and really any studio makes movies like that sometimes that are aimed toward a certain demographic, and this one is all over the board. Anyone can watch it and find something they like in it. So
I guess too that like every good movie at least, like is layered. Like there's, especially these movies, there's stuff for adults, there's stuff for kids. Like shit. Me and Mrs. Hooper were watching the Santa Claus last week. A lot of jokes I missed when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like a lot. And Tim Allen is funny. So like we were watching it, we were like, oh my god, I didn't get that. Yeah, it was.
It's
true. Sorry. Right. That was like the mid '90s, so he was at his peak around then.
Yeah, that
Home
was his
Improvement,
height,
yeah.
Santa Claus, Toy Story,
Galaxy Quest.
not being in prison for cocaine. Yeah.
yes,
But it was amazing how much you kind of miss, and so that to me is an example. Like, say what you will about the Santa Claus franchise or what it became, but at least at least that's the kind of thing you want to show your kids, because they're all like, oh, Santa Claus and he's Santa Claus, blah blah blah. But you're sitting there like, because you understand like the child predator jokes that are in there, you know, like throughout the movie they think that he's like, you know, getting too friendly with kids because he's Santa Claus, but no one, because he looks like Santa Claus, and so they're thinking he's starting to look like Santa so he can like touch these children or whatever. Like they call the cops at the end of the movie. It's stuff you don't think about when you're a little boy.
Yeah.
John, or Dustin, do you have a number 5 you want to talk about?
It's The World's End.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one either.
I knew it.
But it does look interesting. The concept sounds very interesting, so I will check it out eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's a cool movie. It's it's not my favorite of that Cornetto trilogy. I think Hot Fuzz is, but it's my second favorite. Shaun of the Dead's my least favorite, and I know the second I said that, a lot of people just punched their computer screen.
We see that video of that guy who actually did that.
I have. Oh my god, what an idiot! He's an idiot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's stupid. So angry. Now you don't have a computer anymore.
He loves Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah.
That was the best one.
He probably just bought a new one and he heard this and punched through it.
But yeah, no, The World's End is good, and it's definitely Simon Pegg's best performance of the three of them, and I thought it was really awesome. It's really funny too, so yeah.
I've seen half of that trilogy. I'm halfway through Hot Fuzz, and I'm shitting on you, Dustin. I feel like it's not that funny, and I don't know if I'm just wasn't in the right mood or what. But I did want to check out The World's End at some point, because it is ending up on a lot of people's lists. So
I will say this to your point: The World's End is funnier. It is the funniest of the three to me. But Hot Fuzz is the best of the three.
Okay, John, do you have a number 4?
I do, and it was close between my number 4 and my number 5. They're kind of interchangeable, but this one was better, I thought. My number 4 is Frozen.
Okay.
I don't know if either of you have seen that.
I have not seen it.
I wouldn't imagine, but...
I have not seen it, no.
Yeah, it was very good.
I do want to see it. It's definitely high up on my list.
But there were some really great visual scenes in it. There was... the music was really good, and it's like it is like a princess story, but there's other things going on, and it was good.
I love the reindeer.
The reindeer is funny.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reindeer and a talking snowman.
Yes, the reindeer to me just looks like a Disney character. Like, straight up. That's awesome.
And it's probably one of the first Broadway style Disney movies since.
That's what I heard.
Since Lion King around there, and Frozen had singing and all that. Not Frozen. Tangled had a bunch of songs and stuff like that. But this was kind of a return to that, where they had actual singers come in and do all the voices, and Broadway singers and things like that. And the songs were written by Broadway composers, and so it had that feel to it. And so if you liked Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and movies like that, it was in that vein. So
cool.
It was nice.
Yeah, I do want to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dustin, what about you? Got number 4?
Number 4 is also a movie you guys probably haven't seen. I'm terrible at this.
That's okay. You haven't seen mine.
The movie is Much Ado About Nothing, the Joss Whedon version. Ooh. It came out this year.
How was that movie? I already know the answer. It was amazing.
It was good. Why did you do that voice? Is that what I sound like?
No, that was Derek when not drinking.
That was his Shakespeare impression.
I just haven't done that version of Derek in a long time. He's always drunk.
Yes.
That was his Shakespeare impression.
That's what Billy Shakespeare sounded like.
Billy Shakespeare.
Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets.
Not to be.
Oh, God. Whole bunch of sonnets.
When you take a sip, you buzz like a hornet.
I don't know what that's a reference to, but it sounds delightful.
When you take a sip, you buzz like a hornet. Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets.
What is that?
That's from LFO's classic.
Greatest hits.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was like a YouTube video or like a Lonely Island thing, but that's an actual LFO song.
It is on
indeed.
YouTube.
Oh, my God.
It's not an actual LFO song. It is the LFO song.
Yes.
That's the only song they ever
Wait, is that...
Their album was that song repeated 11 times.
Which
it really was.
Which song was that?
Summer Girls.
So yeah.
Oh, my God. That's right.
When I met you, I said my name
Abercrombie
was
and
Rich.
Fitch.
You look like a girl from Abercrombie and Fitch.
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. What's that?
Take you if I
have one wish. She's been gone since that summer. What a shitty song. Forgot about that.
When John and I met up in Atlanta recently, we listened to that
several times.
3 or 4 times right in a row.
That pops on my Pandora every now and then because they have like a 90s station on there. And I never skip it. I'll say that for it. I don't ever skip it. Because it always starts with the yeah, and it has like the soft little dunk 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 dunk, and he's like, I like it when the girls walk by. All right, here we go now. New kids on the block, got a bunch of hits. Chinese food makes me sick.
You seem to know this really well.
I know. I was about to say.
I like I said, I never skip it, so it seeped its way into my subconscious.
I was about to say, me and John couldn't come up with anything, and then we had to look up the lyrics because we just were so...
I would have gone karaoke on y'all's asses with that song. I bet if they did, if Inception starred me, at one of the levels you'd go down to, there'd be an LFO concert, they'd be singing that song.
Wow. I don't know that I would admit that, Hooper.
There's a lot of poop jokes in LFO. That's really what's in my subconscious, and that's
scary.
I'm not proud of it.
That's scary.
I'm less proud of the LFO than I am of the poop. I'll say that.
Yes.
Okay, anyway.
But
Much Ado About Nothing
is a great flick. Here's what I like about this movie. It was made like super cheap on the weekends at Joss Whedon's house with his friends, and so it just seems like, it's a movie that everybody that was in it wanted to be in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And everybody was having fun, and yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's not perfect. The direction is actually a little like television-esque. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But the point is, it's a great movie. It's pretty much line for line the Shakespeare, play, and it's I think they changed like one line, and yeah, it's really cool, and it has a cool style, and there you go.
So it's like it's kind of like how Coriolanus did the straight up text, like I don't know if you ever saw that, but basically straight from the book, right? They didn't modernize it or anything.
Right? No, it's straight from the book.
Wow.
So
it's like a Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
With Leo.
Yes. Exactly.
In case you guys didn't know Romeo and Juliet.
Yes. I had to jog my memory there. But yeah, no, it's a good movie, and it is set in modern day, but they speak the original language, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't really. I would never watch Coriolanus again, but I was impressed with it for the same reason you seem to be impressed with this, Dustin. That it shows that the text itself kind of can transcend, the years. you know,
It's
you can put
timeless.
it in a modern context, but
Mm-hmm.
and seeing actors speaking it convincingly in a modern context is impressive.
Yes,
Okay,
very.
cool.
Yeah, if you get around to it, I think it is in Redbox. You should check it out.
I do. I need to check that out. All right. Well, John, you have a number 3?
I don't.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
Yes, I do.
I realize how
Skip it.
stupid that question is. I'm
That
sorry.
would be very bizarre.
That's the only way I can tell you to move on without saying, "Okay, John, you." I don't want to be like fucking, you know, the McLaughlin group over here, just saying, "Who wants to go next?"
Yeah, I did. My number 3 was Star Trek Into Darkness.
Okay.
boom. That's not on my top 10, but I saw it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I did not see that. Do you like it better than the 2009 Star Trek? About the same?
I do.
I
Yeah.
don't.
You like it better?
I do like it better.
What's better about it?
I feel like this one felt a little bit more like Star Trek. The best Star Trek episodes always had some sort of story or social commentary, and this one had social commentary on several topics. And I thought that was a little bit more in line with Trek as opposed to the last movie, which really had no sort of message to it or anything like that,
Okay.
besides the generic "find your destiny" type messages. I think that they gave certain characters a lot more to do in this movie. They weren't just standing around on the bridge doing nothing, and they actually gave characters like Chekhov and Scotty a little bit more to do. And the story felt a little bit more in line with Star Trek. And I know it divided a lot of Star Trek fans. It was voted like the worst Star Trek film at a Star Trek convention. Yeah, and which is ridiculous. But it's not my favorite Star Trek film or by any means. But I thought it was very good. So and the Khan thing divided a lot of people as well. And I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. You know, I understand that this is a new franchise taking in a new direction, and so you can't have it be exactly the same. And I understand that. So once I got past that, I enjoyed it a lot. So.
Well, let me throw this in there.
Yeah.
Star Trek was, if we have time, we may touch on some of the movies that I find most disappointing this year, and Star Trek is on that list.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
that's
do you
not
wanna
to
go
say
ahead
it's a bad movie.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about it now since we're already on it?
I mean, I guess I could if you want me to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you go ahead and talk about it? I mean,
All right. Well, okay.
go ahead,
so
Dustin. Hit him hard.
I was never really a Star Trek fan until college, until you introduced me to it, John.
Mm-hmm.
And because leading up to the 2009 movie, we watched some of the old episodes, and maybe did we watch Wrath of Khan? I can't remember.
I want to say we did not, but I don't remember. You've seen it since though? You know,
Oh yeah,
so we've all
several
seen
times.
it. So
Yeah.
I think that's when
Yeah.
I first saw it too. But John ran me through the Star Trek gamut freshman year, I think, because I remember like the Edith. John, remember when we did that MTV the video where we showed the clip? Star Trek's paused on the TV.
yes,
We took a break from watching it to make that episode, and that was the Edith Keeler
Gotcha.
episode.
yeah. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, this movie is not Wrath of Khan. It's not even close to Wrath of Khan. But
Well, here's
I just wanted to throw that out.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's my problem with it. I agree with your point that it feels a little more like Star Trek, but at the same time, to me, there's a few things that that just irritate me, too much about it. The first of which, and I said this about the last one, that the weak link in the cast was Zachary Quinto, and I still believe that. I don't get the sense that he's Spock at all. Number two is I did not like, because I felt cheated, I felt played by the Khan thing. I felt like they pulled the rug out from under me in a bad way because they were trying to trick me, not because they were trying to subvert my expectations or make me think about something in a new way, but because they were just trying to like pull a fast one on the,
I would agree with that.
people that care.
Yeah, I agree.
So I hate that about the movie. If they had just said Khan from the get-go, I wouldn't hold that against it. If they had just kept it John Harrison, I wouldn't hold it against it. But the fact that there is that switch, and that switch happens early enough in the film that it could have happened a few scenes earlier, and nothing would be different.
Sure. No, I understand that. I agree with that.
So that bugs me. And the last thing that bugs me, and this is probably me, I saw this as an opportunity to do something great with the franchise, and it didn't take it. Now, I hate to hate on a movie because of that. That's why I would never put this on a worst of 2013 or anything like that list. In fact, I own the movie. I've watched the movie several times since I bought it. I like the movie. But it is disappointing to me because while I was watching it for the first time, there's a brief moment where I thought what they were going to do was, because they have this whole new timeline, that they were going to make Khan and Kirk allies, which to me would have been brilliant. And I couldn't shake it when that didn't happen. And I remember leaving the theater and just being so disappointed because that seemed so obvious and it should have happened, and I hate that it didn't happen. Because
I'll agree with that.
I believe that the message of this film was that the system is corrupt, right?
Yes.
And so first of all, I'm not sure. Obviously, this is early in the Star Trek kind of reboot, which is fine. But at a certain point, you've got to push past Starfleet being corrupt in any way, because that was never the intention, I believe, of Gene Roddenberry's vision. I believe that in my opinion, at least, I feel like Gene tried to create something that was right. It wasn't broken. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't think Starfleet was corrupt. I think it was the Admiral who is the real.
You have to assume, though, that there was more corruption lurking, and that
sure.
So, I guess my thing is, they had an opportunity to break off and subvert the fans' expectations in a good way, which instead of pulling the rug out from under me, saying, "Here, we told you it's Khan," and you immediately thought he was a villain. Shame on you. He's a good guy. And
sure.
how powerful that message would have been going forward, saying this timeline is A, different, B, they're doing things that the original crew, they're correcting mistakes that the original crew made, which to me would have been different and unique, and it would have offered like a great chance for like Spock Prime to come back and see the difference that choices make, and the differences that you can create just by how you interact with other people. And so that Khan could easily have been their ally instead of their archenemy. And I think that would have been a really powerful message to send, and I just haven't been able to shake that. And that's on me, so I can't fault the film for it, but I can say it's disappointing that the film didn't grab what I feel like is an obvious idea.
My only problem with that would be that he is inherently that way, and that he can't be changed, because by the time he enters the film, the events in the last film that changed the timeline happened after he had already left Earth and was put in cryogenic sleep. So he's already inherently evil. For me, it'd be too much of a character jump for him to change heart.
I don't think. But see, I think there's a line in the film where Khan says, "My crew is my family. Is there anything you would not do for yours, Kirk?" Yeah,
and I agree. He's not really played as a really bad guy in this movie either. He's not the central villain of the movie either. There are times when he is sympathetic to an extent until the end of the movie, when he really becomes kind of evil. But
so for me, I don't see him as inherently evil. I see him as maybe power mad, sure, but I don't see him as just being an evil guy. And if you give him the proper stimulus that this new timeline has created for him, I feel like you could, and I'm trying not to spoil it for Connor.
That's okay.
With the new stimulus that this timeline gives him, I feel like he could easily have teamed up with Kirk and done something positive to help Kirk rid Starfleet of corruption.
Sure.
And sure, there may be a twist later down the road. There may be, a moment when he's not on their side, but I don't think it would have been difficult to create a story in which Khan and Kirk work together because it benefits them both.
Sure.
And I feel
like
like
they do for a little bit.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
But
I see what you're saying.
Guys,
yeah.
And what I want to see is the movie after this movie where they go off on the 5-year mission.
Yeah, I do too. That sounds awesome.
That's what I really want to see. So I wish they
Yeah.
had done that, an original story not involving any
yeah.
pre-existing villains and things. But
I agree.
And so I'm looking forward to the next one for that reason. But I agree with what you're saying. I understand.
I just need to know if Tyler Perry is corrupt.
Tyler Perry's not in the movie.
He's not in this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go watch this tomorrow then.
That was what was keeping you from it.
He plays Khan. Spoiler.
Oh wow, okay. Well, this is about the time where I realized I didn't have the money to see a lot of stuff in theaters like I wanted to. And not that it started with this film, but this film, the first thing I thought of when I was like, crap, I can't see a bunch of these, was, crap, I can't see Star Trek. And so when the reviews came out and I was hearing, I don't even know if I heard from the reviews or just from an accidental spoiler, but as soon as I found out that Khan was involved, I was really pissed off. Like, the reasons I was okay with not seeing this were purely, they had nothing to do with how it compared to the original Star Trek or anything. It was more along the lines of what you were talking about, Dustin. I said, they have a whole new timeline, but it was even,
they can do anything.
But it was even more away from yours. Like, to me, I felt like Destiny was a theme that fit more into Star Wars than Star Trek. That was much more of a Star Wars kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they put Destiny into Star Trek at all, I thought was kind of weird, because Star Trek was about exploration, and it was also, among other things like tolerance, a lot of stuff. Which I don't know if they ride the tolerance lessons in these movies a lot, because I feel like that would be a huge thing that would be synonymous with the way everything works these days. Not to say that tolerance is bad. I'm just saying that, like, they seem. I feel like I'd be being beaten over the head with it with science fiction. Anyway, like you said, Dustin, working with Kirk, like being an ally of Kirk, that'd be a way to like kind of stay on, keep them somewhat bonded to their original timeline, but change things. But I was sort of thinking, for God's sake, even if you do Khan in the third movie, that's fine. But please don't adhere so much to the original stories that you do Khan as the second movie. Like, I was thinking, like, see, now in the third movie, they're going to have to, because I know that Kirk dies in this movie. I don't know if he I don't know if he comes back by the end of the movie, or what. If, and I'll say this as, if he doesn't, and they fucking spend the third movie, the search for Kirk, I'm going to be super pissed, because then it's going to be like, oh my God, there's no originality,
No, that won't be the case.
Okay, I assume then he comes back. But the same thing, like, I just thought they have a whole new opportunity to do something different, and they didn't have to involve Khan at all. And the fact that Khan is in the second movie of this new trilogy was kind of like, it just told me, you couldn't think of any sort of alien race to just make up and put in this movie. Like, it's an alien race. It's not the sequel to, like, a crime drama. It's a fucking movie about space. Can you put someone else in it? Anyone. Just the fucking Klingon. Anyone. Like, so many.
No, please, no Klingons.
So, but just anybody. Like, it didn't have to be Khan. Think of, okay, we could do Khan. Or we could do, like, one of hundreds of choices we also have that are good. And it's like, no, let's just do Khan. Why? So that pissed me off. So I just thought, like, it not so much like that one thing, but it was around the time where I was realizing that Kurtzman and Orsi had churned out more bad stuff at this point than good stuff. Like when the first Star Trek came out, they were kind of at the top of their game. They had done a couple things that were really good, and they were showing some promise. And Star Trek was like, they're sort of like, okay, we're like awesome writers kind of a thing. And then since then, they've turned out, another two more Transformers movies.
They just did one.
Well, they were kind of, they did one. They
Revenge.
EP'd the other two.
Yeah.
and did story on it, but then they churned out they churned out Cowboys and Aliens, and then Damon Lindelof churned out the end of Lost and Prometheus. And so...
And Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, so between all that, between these two movies, they did a lot of... They got a lot of their bad ideas out of the way, but the downside is everybody had to see them. So, to me, this was one more thing where I was like, God, they just don't know what they're doing. So I avoided it. Like, maybe I was ill-informed, but all those things came together and just told me I don't want to see this right away anyway. I still heard enough good things about it to where I do intend to rent it, so I feel like I shouldn't be talking this much about it, having not seen it. But I will say that did put me off of it, like them doing con in general. Like I can't hold that against it because I have to accept that that's what they did and either work within that framework or not. But it does, I guess, looking at the franchise as a whole, like I really liked the first one. I liked that they kind of did like a harmony on the canon, but they didn't necessarily stick to it. And it's not that I feel like they shouldn't have done con. I just really feel like it shouldn't have been in this movie. There's no reason it had to be. And I feel like they did it because I don't know. So
I hear you.
Yeah, it's kind of at the point where it was weird. It sort of breaks my movie rule, Dustin. Like it's not it's not two bad movies in a row with this one, but this one did something where I was like, whether it was a studio choice, whoever made the final decision that we're definitely doing con, familiarity took over in the end. And that we were told by the director it's not con, and it fucking was. I don't care if you do an evasive, answer, like, oh, well, we're not going to really tell you, but don't say we're definitely not doing that. Don't worry, don't do that. Like, I kind of prefer that to a degree, but it got to the point where J.J. Abrams is just like a straight up liar about what he's working on, and he doesn't owe me an answer. He doesn't owe anybody any answers. But I kind of wish like that you would just do the tactful like dodge the question than just straight up lie. I don't feel personally offended by it, but it's more like, why'd you have to? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I had to go off on that.
I only have like a half hour left. BT dubs.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to someone's number 3.
Yeah. All right. So my number 3 is Man of Steel.
All right.
I know the hate that this movie gets. I get it. But I love it.
This is your Star Trek.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on Superman, and I love Superman. And sure, there are things that I like about Superman that weren't presented here. Sure, there are things I would have done differently. But you know what? Overall, this is pretty darn close to what I've always wanted from a Superman movie. And, so there you go. I enjoyed it.
John,
I enjoyed it too.
You saw? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
This is one of the ones I saw. Oh,
Yay!
yeah. I would put this among my favorites of the year. I mean, he being Henry Cavill was a really good Superman. I kind of liked that it was kind of an origin story, but not. Superman the movie
not
didn't
overly
really,
so.
Yeah, not overly so, but it kind of we have the technology to make this to a big scale. So you were able to show Krypton and
sure.
The whole. I thought it was really good. I didn't see a problem with how it ended. I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but enough people had a problem.
I think a lot of people.
With the you think a lot of people?
Yeah.
Okay, well, a lot of people.
What are you talking about specifically?
A lot of people had a problem with the ending. Spoiler if you haven't seen Man of Steel, he snaps Zod's neck at the end of the movie, like he kills him, and a lot of people had a problem with the fact that Superman killed somebody, which I think is stupid because there's nowhere did Superman say I'm not going to kill people. Like he's looking around like you guys must think I'm Batman because I'll snap necks left and right. I don't give a damn.
Well, we have to remember this. First of all, this is not the first time he's killed General Zod. He's killed him in the comics before. We have to remember this is not the first time he's ever killed anybody.
It's not like he murdered him. Like he
was backed into a corner. He had no choice, and he let out his grief after doing it, which I think was appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't think Superman looks to kill anybody, but if you push him far enough, and there's no other way, which with Zod there wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with him doing what is necessary to stop a family from being burned to a crisp.
Yeah.
The thing is, back in 38 when Superman first came out, Superman was a little bit different in that, you know, he couldn't fly. Things were a little different for him back then. He leapt tall buildings, but he didn't fly. But he was very much like a champion of the people, and so he went after bad guys like, you know, gangsters and the mafia and ultimately Luthor. But the point is, he would not hesitate to take one of those people out or to pick them up and drop them from a very high distance. Mm-hmm. This was because at that time, a lot of things were happening in America, and so in the late 30s and early 40s, he was just a more violent character. I think it was really around the time that Christopher Reeve took over the role that he became known as like a gentle, you know, hero, and that's not a knock on Christopher Reeve, because Christopher Reeve was fantastic, and in fact I wish there was a little bit of that hope and that you know, optimism in Man of Steel, but he went a little far, I think, in Superman the movie as being passive. And I like this Superman who's, okay, look, I'm going to get the job done, and even if it's at great personal cost to me and my, you know, psyche or whatever, I'm gonna kill a guy if that's what it means to keep people safe. But again, I don't think he looks at doing it. The other thing that I think a lot of people hate about
people need to stop whining.
I agree.
I like that he did that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do too. And I think it separates him from a lot of other superheroes out there.
I agree.
Here's the other thing that I think people hate about this movie is the amount of destruction, which if you stop and look at it, which I've seen it a few times now, so when you stop and you see, there's really, if I remember right, I counted twice where Superman is on the offensive and something gets destroyed. Every other time, either the World Engine is destroying things or Zod is beating the crap out of Superman and he's flying through buildings. Superman can't help that. He's being beaten.
It was important to mention the fact that he was not in control of that fight during the time. It's not like Superman said, "I'm gonna hurt this guy by throwing him through buildings that have lots of people in them." Like, exactly. He was not in control of the fight at that time, and by the time he was, they were on the ground, and he was that was not happening anymore.
Yes,
and him snapping his neck was part of him controlling what was happening at that point.
Yes.
Again, people need to stop whining.
Yeah,
I agree. There's a lot of destruction in this movie. I'm not arguing that point. But if you stop and look at how many times Superman was on the offensive and was responsible directly for the damage that was caused, it was very little.
Yeah. It's stupid. Like, no one complained that much about how many people died in Transformers. Like, do you think...
Or the Avengers.
For real. Like, it's not...
Which looked a lot like Transformers.
Yeah. Yes. This is true.
Just saying, the alien ship in that was like a direct lift from the same one in
it really
Transformers
was
3.
Yeah. Yep.
Very much.
Yeah, but I really like Man of Steel, and I like where they're going with Superman. It was really important, I think, for DC, especially for the Justice League movie they want to do, to make sure they got Superman right. My big concern, as you guys know, was I want them to make sure they have the action correctly. Like, the physicality of how he moves, how the environment reacts to him moving. Like, I like that when he flies away, like, a ton of shit breaks. Like, that should happen. That's how physics works. If someone were to be able to fly, it wouldn't just be like a lift-off. It would break a lot of shit. So,
and if you notice, when Zod flies at the end, he pulls off, like, his armor, and the armor's floating. So that tells me that they're not just flying, they are literally changing the gravity around them. So these objects that, you know, are floating, like when Superman, there's the close-up of his hand, you know, when he's about to take off and the rocks are kind of floating, he's manipulating gravity around him, which I think is a really smart way of approaching it, because, you know, I mean, it had never really been talked about, you know, how does he actually do that?
Yeah.
How does he fly? How do you propel yourself? Well, you manipulate the gravity around you, and I think that was pretty smart. And I think there's more thought put into that movie than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah.
My number 2 was Saving Mr. Banks.
Ooh.
Okay.
I haven't seen that, but I do want
I've
to.
not seen it either.
particularly being a big Walt Disney fan, it was interesting to watch. But even if you just like the movie making process, it's an interesting movie to watch, and it had a very cool look to it. It takes place in the early 1960s, and so everything has to look very 60s, and it was just very interesting all around. It showed a different side to Walt Disney that most of the public doesn't know. One of the big strengths of the movie is that it portrays him as a real person and not like a corporate mascot, which was the right way to take that. So I thought it was very good, and it was an interesting story regardless of Disney. So
yes,
good,
awesome.
Dustin, what's your number 2?
Well, keeping with the Disney namesake here, I'm going to go with Monsters University as my number 2.
All right. I also saw this.
Monsters University really surprised me. I don't really know what I was expecting going in, other than, it's Pixar, it's going to be good. And it really surprised me, and when you watch it a couple of times, I don't know, it's just, to me, I like it better than the first Monsters, Inc.
I think I do too.
And I think it's just like, I think it speaks to pretty much everyone's college experience in some way. And, we all know people like this. And I think it's a good sort of origin story for the friendship between two people. And, and I think it's a pretty daring message, because really, if you think about what the message of the movie is, it's very different from what kids normally get shoved down their throats, which is if you try hard enough, everything works out for you. Well, it's the opposite here. Mike and Sully are the best at what they do, and they get kicked out of school. I mean, they lose. Even though they tried their hardest, they lost. And so, but they didn't change their goal. They just changed the way that they reached the goal. So, and you sort of see that over the end credits, or right there at the end, that they just worked their way up the ladder rather than graduating from school and doing it that way. And I think it was a good message, for adults, but also for kids to learn that sometimes things don't work out, but it doesn't mean to give up. It just means maybe adjust the way that you approach life, the way that you approach your goals. And I think that was a good message to send, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and so there you go.
Yeah, I think it exceeded my expectations. I think it just exceeded most people's expectations too. I don't think that a lot of people were really happy when this was initially announced, and it's certainly proven everybody wrong.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't excited, but I'm sure if I were to go back and watch Monsters Inc., I think I'd like them about the same. There was a couple things I wasn't a fan of. I did like the overall message that you to kind of adjust your sails if the seas aren't kind of going your way.
Look at Hooper getting all metaphorical.
I'm not quite a fan of prequels, simply because throughout the movie I know that not only, even though it's an animated movie, so it's not like I'm like, they're definitely you could tell they're older now. I didn't like the fact that, okay, well, I know two things. I know, one, they're going to make it. They're going to be, they're going to work at Monsters Inc. after all this, so I know they're going to succeed. And B, I know that during Monsters Inc., they're going to prove that scaring people isn't the most effective way to power, the whole monster world. So I knew that what they were learning was ultimately going to end up being useless. It was kind of a nitpicky thing, but I was more kind of thinking, like they establish in Monsters Inc. that laughter's better, and I know they wouldn't have known this at this point, but as a viewer, I'm kind of thinking this is all pointless. However, taking that cynicism aside, it was a fun watch, and I did enjoy it a lot.
Well, but see, I don't have a problem with that, because, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's a Disney movie, so it's not like when you're watching Monsters Inc., you're like, oh, they might kill Sully at any time. Like, okay, Sully's not going to die. So, in this, like, Sully's not going to die. So there's no difference. I mean, and so for me, it was more of like, well, let's see how they got together. And I think that those kind of stories can be interesting. How can these two people become friends despite, being apart and being, annoyed by each other initially? And, and I think I just kind of rolled with it and said, like, okay, so maybe everything that they're learning isn't the most effective way, but right now they think it is, so it doesn't really affect the story that is being told. And at the same time, I mean, if they had done like at the end, like or at any point, like a little reference, like a sly reference, like, oh, laughter may be better, you know, and the audience would be like, oh yeah, though, because we saw the other one, like that would have been like violating, you know, my disbelief as well. So like I've got this suspension of disbelief already, and you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem rolling with the fact that it's a prequel and saying, you know, it's not one of those movies where it's like, okay, they're in mortal danger. It's just one of those movies like,
it's a buddy movie.
Well, I know where they are. Let's see how they got there. And I think that those kind of stories can be interesting.
I think I've just recently realized that timeline is one of those things I tend to zero in on. Like some people zero in on jokes, some people zero in on, you know, maybe the animation. Some people zero on a lot of things. I've realized that with movies across the board, like the timeline, like the order in which things occur, does stick out to me more than everything else. And I think most people, and definitely the audience they made it for, are not the ones who are focused on that. So I did take that into account when I saw it. I thought, you know, it's not made for me to consider what they later find out about. So I did sort of push that to the back seat. But, you know, if I'm being honest about how I felt about it, it was part of it. But it was very enjoyable, and I did not expect it to be as good as it was.
Yes.
All right, Dustin, what's next for you? Wait, you just said that one.
That was mine.
Sorry, John.
John, what's your number one?
It's my number one, right? I got about 12 minutes.
I already know what it is.
Do you? Okay. My number one was Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Boom.
Ooh. All right.
There you go.
Dustin and I did not see this one. Wait, Dustin, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to speak for you.
I mean, I do want to. I mean, but I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, so I didn't go out of my way to see it. But I heard really good things about it.
Yeah, as did I.
I thought the first one was good, but this one blew away the first one. And rarely do I go through a movie. All the movies I just mentioned, I knew how they were going to end the moment I went into them, and with this movie, it was I could not predict what was going to happen next, and when the movie ended, you could have never guessed that what was going to happen happened, and rarely does that happen with me for a movie where I go in and I'm completely guessing the entire time what's going to happen next, and it was refreshing.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it was an improvement over. Like I said, I liked the first movie, but this was a big improvement, and I thought it was excellent.
Awesome. And I'll end up seeing that movie for sure.
Yeah. I definitely want to see it too. I heard it was Dustin and I were not fans of the Hunger Games, really in the least.
I mean, I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
but I didn't like it.
I've read 2 of the books, and so like I enjoyed the series, so I knew that the material itself was good. But I had felt, and I think Dustin would agree, that the first movie was poorly executed. And so when this one was coming out, I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to wait and hear, you know, how it was. And everyone was saying, no, like this is much better done, and like the story's way better, and blah blah blah. So I definitely
I think the first one was a good adaptation as well, but this one I think is the story is better in the second book, so the second movie is obviously going to be better as well. But I thought that they're both well executed, but the second one is better.
I think there was too much in the first one that relied on you having read the books and knowing what she's kind of thinking and going through during the times. There wasn't enough externalization in the first movie. Like I didn't know, there wasn't enough of me knowing as an objective viewer what she was. There was too much that wasn't said, and the camera movement itself was very disorienting and kind of took you away from everything. I thought it was badly filmed. And I felt like the characters didn't say enough to where I sort of understood their situation. You know, if I had not read the book, like I knew what happens in this scene. I know what the words in the book are telling me in this scene that she's considering. But people who haven't read the book don't know what the hell, you know, everything that I know about this character in this particular situation. And from what it sounds like, this movie, like it's almost like how Watchmen was so faithful with its adaptation. But I didn't have a problem with that because I didn't care. But with this one, it's like it's so it's like they were afraid to write dialogue for Katniss that had not been in the book to externalize her internal thoughts. And that's a problem when you adapt for film. So I felt like that was a big problem for the first movie, but I'm definitely excited about this one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who wrote the first one, but this one was written by, it was two people. One of them was Michael Arndt.
Oh, cool.
And I think Simon Beaufoy was the other one.
Okay.
And so the writing is very good, and it's faithful to the book, so I liked it.
Sweet.
Yeah. Dustin, you're number one?
All right. I'm sure you already know what it is.
I think I know.
Want to take a guess?
The Hobbit.
You are correct, sir.
Smaug.
The Hobbit is my number one. Again, second year in a row. All right, so here's the deal. I know this movie gets a lot of hate. Like Man of Steel, I said, it gets a lot of hate. I know that. I understand it. I can see where they're coming from. With The Hobbit, I don't see it as much anymore. I thought Desolation of Smaug was a much better film than the first one. I liked the first one. When I see people hating on the movie, I genuinely don't understand where they're coming from. I don't know if either of you saw the movie.
I did not.
Did you?
I didn't see either of them.
Well, I think the thing is people expected Lord of the Rings, and it's just not Lord of the Rings, and it never was going to be. And then at the same time, I think people expected it to be faithful to the book, to like a very strong degree, and I don't think it was ever going to be. Maybe the better title for this instead of The Hobbit is The Tales of Middle-earth or something, but the fact remains the story is about Bilbo and his quest, but we're seeing things that Tolkien wrote about in the appendices in Lord of the Rings or in, just elsewhere, or various notes that he had or whatever. So we're seeing things that were not in the book, but it doesn't distract to me. To me, it enhances the story being told. For instance, in the book, you reach a point where Gandalf, he takes the hobbits to Mirkwood Forest, and he says, okay, or the dwarves, to Mirkwood Forest, and he says, okay, go through the forest, but don't leave the path. Peace. And he leaves. In the book, we don't know where he goes. He just shows up at the end again, and that's it. Well, in the movie, we get to see where he goes. We get to see what he's doing. And this is the story that Tolkien wrote in the appendices of Lord of the Rings. We get to know where he went. So for me, that enhances the story being told as opposed to detracting from it. And I know that some people say, well, it wasn't in the book. Well,
stop whining.
Like, I'm not exactly. Stop nitpicking. Like, just sit back and enjoy it because it's fun. It has some awesome sequences in the film that totally stand up. It has some of the best CGI characters I have ever seen in any movie. Smaug looks fantastic.
Is his name Smaug or Smog?
Smaug.
Because whenever I read the book twice, and I always assumed his name was Smog.
I
thought it
was Smaug too.
I always thought it was
I don't know.
Smaug. Evidently, the Tolkien experts tell us he pronounced it Smaug.
I will also venture that they're probably from the United Kingdom, so it may be a regional.
This is probably
difference
true
because when you talk about, I don't know. Well, anyway, yeah. Sorry, I was going to.
Well, no, it's true.
I was going to make an analogy that didn't fit.
But if you look at a word like August, we're all also from the South.
Yeah.
So maybe it's regional. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but yeah. I said Smog my whole life, and only recently have tried to start saying Smaug.
Yeah.
You know what they call him in the South?
What?
That big ass dragon. Look at that monkey.
Holy fucking shit!
Look at that monkey.
Boomer, look out!
Look at that monkey. But another thing that people have a problem with is Legolas being in the film. And again, I don't have a problem with that. It enhances the film to me, and it's going to enhance the Lord of the Rings because I mean, obviously, if they messed it up and Legolas was an idiot in this movie, it would make me be like, oh, you know, the way that the Star Wars prequels did. Now I hate Darth Vader kind of because I hate Anakin so much. But they make Legolas and he's not really any different. He's still just as awesome as he was in Lord of the Rings. So it kind of enhances it. And now we know a little bit of his backstory. We get to see his dad. We get to see stuff that we didn't get to see before. And that to me is interesting. And I think it's also important to realize that they're probably never going to do another Middle-earth movie, at least not for a very long time. So if we don't get it now, we're never going to get it. And eventually Orlando Bloom is not going to be young enough or healthy enough to play this character. And although you can kind of see that he's aged, it's not enough to distract you from it. And anyway, I guess my point is I like watching this and I like seeing the things that Tolkien wrote come to life. And they are doing that. They are bringing those stories to life, not just from The Hobbit, but from elsewhere. And there are things like Evangeline Lilly's character that they've added in that isn't in any of Tolkien's writings. And in her specific case, I actually enjoy her character because there is not a single female character in The Hobbit, in the book. I don't believe a single female character speaks in that book. So I kind of enjoy the fact that they've added one. You know, it just gives it depth. I don't know. Makes it feel real. Whatever. Anyway, I enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to stand here and just defend it. But I liked it. Oh, another thing that people hate about this thing is there's a sequence where Peter Jackson used a GoPro to film part of the thing. And yeah, you can tell it's a GoPro, but literally it's 6 seconds of the movie, and I have seen so many people hate on the GoPro. And I'm like, you're going to hate a whole movie because of 6 seconds that were shot on a camera you can buy at Best Buy?
They're whiners.
I don't even care.
I mean, the whole movie is shot on a camera. It's not like it's really that much different.
Exactly.
Those are the same people who voted Star Trek Into Darkness as the worst Star Trek movie.
Exactly.
Some people just shouldn't be fucking allowed to speak. Some people just need to shut the fuck up and keep their opinions themselves. Right. I mean, because, like, I don't see how people don't understand. Like, a year ago, or 3 years ago, when they said, hey, we're going to make a Hobbit. And then they said, we're going to make 3 of them. And then people were like, oh, money. And they were like, wait, here's why. Now, of course, like, you know, here's why. Because there are appendices and there's room for more story that's already there, that is there, yes. That was basically, yes. It's the same thing. When Tolkien wrote the book, he wrote the book and then he said, hey, in case you were curious about where Gandalf is, here's where he went. And here's exactly. What he did. And here's all these other people doing their shit too, kind of just parallel to the main book I'm telling you. That's what Peter Jackson's doing, saying, hey, if you're, yes. You know, I'm going to put all that shit that he wrote in the main story. And people who claim they've read the books are losing their fucking minds. They're like, hey, excuse me, I read the book, and that doesn't happen. And it's like, well, you prick, it does. It's in the appendices.
It does. Shut up.
You say you read the book. Why don't you go to the last fucking 10 pages and look at the appendices? And the fact that, I mean, yes, the studio went for it because they knew they'd make more money. If they thought that all that there was to add to the movie, you know, all that they thought they'd get out of adding the appendices was artistic value, they would have said, I'm sorry, that jacks the budget up, and we're not going to make any more money off of it, so whatever. Right. But when Peter Jackson says, well, I can split this into 3, what do you think of that? And they said, oh, sure, do that. They're a studio. It's their job to make money. That's why they went for it. But so, that doesn't Connor, make it a bad decision.
Right. Connor, you've seen the first film.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. If the whole story had been in one movie,
I would have been so pissed off because it's like, even though it would have been good, I would have been like, that's it. Like, that's all.
That's it. It's over. Yeah. The end. No more Middle Earth. Also, you've missed a whole bunch of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Like, in that first movie, you're going to miss, like, the wargs chasing the hobbits. And, yeah, maybe it's not necessary. Or you're going to miss, like Radagast. Like, all of that stuff. And, yeah, Radagast is kind of goofy. But, you know what? The book, The Hobbit, is goofy. It is a kid's book. Lord of the Rings is not, but The Hobbit was. You see, when Tolkien wrote it, The Hobbit was a kid's book. Then he wrote Lord of the Rings later to appeal to those kids that read The Hobbit, so it was more mature. After the Lord of the Rings was such a huge success, Tolkien went back and started rewriting The Hobbit to make it match the tone of Lord of the Rings and make it like mature and whatnot. But then he realized, you know what? I'm losing a lot of the heart of the movie. So he stopped. What Peter Jackson is doing is he's adding in the Lord of the Rings-ish elements, but he's never losing the goofiness that should have been there. And that is there in The Hobbit. My point is, I like the movie. If you hate me as a critic because I like it, then shame on you. Movies are subjective. And if you hated the movie, then shame on you, because you should probably be a little more open to having fun at the movies and stop nitpicking things to death.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
The end.
John, I know you have to go. I'm going to do my next thing in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, go. Okay, you guys only mentioned 2 movies I saw this year, so I'm going to read off the other 9 and give my brief thoughts on them. I saw A Good Day to Die Hard, Admission, Iron Man 3, Pain and Gain, The Great Gatsby, World War Z, The Wolverine, and Thor: The Dark World. I had to stop halfway through A Good Day to Die Hard because it was boring as fuck. Admission was okay, but just okay. Iron Man 3 was really good, but I'm kind of pissed off that they took the chess piece out and tried to insinuate that having all the suits was bad. Pain and Gain was kind of funny, but it was just like every other Michael Bay movie, to where I was like, this is just sort of dumb. I thought that him being self-aware would make it funny. It really wasn't. The Great Gatsby was kind of cool, but I didn't really like all the Jay-Z music that was in it. This Is the End was funny, and that's about it. World War Z was better than I thought it was going to be. I really enjoyed the zombie mythology in that. I really liked the action. I think it's worth a watch. I'll probably watch it again. The Wolverine was really good. I liked, the self-contained nature of it, and I think that bringing him to Japan and kind of taking a little bit less of the comic bookiness was a good thing for the character. So it made me really interested in Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine going forward. In Thor: The Dark World, I had to pirate it, and I couldn't see the subtitles on the cropped screen, so I didn't know what the fuck the elves were saying, so I'm really lost as to what really happens in the story, but it was kind of boring. That was a minute 20, but that's, yeah.
That was concise.
Yeah.
Well, let me do a couple seconds then of my most disappointing of 2013.
Okay.
We've already talked about Star Trek.
Go.
I also have Now You See Me on the list. Now You See Me has a great cast, but is stupid, and it's pointless. The next thing is Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is disappointing because after the Avengers, you'd expect something cool, and this was all stupid, and he didn't even use the suit half the time. Then you have This Is the End. This Is the End was stupid because... Well, it wasn't stupid. Well, it was kind of stupid. But it was disappointing. It was disappointing because it has a lot of things that I like. Cameos and celebrities playing themselves and the apocalypse. And it didn't deliver on any of those things. And it was just like, I don't know, a lot of dumb humor that didn't come from any drama. And it was stupid. And it was just like vignettes of stupid jokes. And I'm going to talk about that for a long time because I don't like it very much. The next thing is The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which was also stupid, and is another comedy which was stupid, and it had Steve Carell and Jim Carrey, and it was just kind of dumb and forgettable. And also, Steve Carell really needs to pick his roles better. The next thing is August Osage County, which I don't think has come out yet, but we played it at the film festival, and it has a lot of really good actors in it, like Meryl Streep and Benedict Cumberbatch and Julia Roberts. But it's also really dumb and really stupid and really hard to watch and depressing because it's all about a bunch of people like whining and complaining because it's based on a play, so it's just a lot of dialogue. And so they're all just complaining about how terrible their lives are and how terrible Meryl Streep is as a mother. And it's just really long and a lot of depressing dialogue, and there you go.
Okay. Well,
right.
This has been a great countdown, you guys. I'd like to keep doing this. John, I'd like to have you back again soon.
I would love to come back.
What movie are you going to see tonight?
Frozen.
Again.
Awesome.
Again, we're going to get some dinner at the theater where it's a fork and screen thing.
Oh,
cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, well, John, I guess we'll say goodbye.
Sorry to run, but...
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
We've been recording for an hour and a half. We need to...
This was fun.
All right, homie.
I'm cutting
See
off.
ya.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, John.
All right. Well, for a second, I'd like to take a second, Dustin, and I would like to.
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and acknowledge all the ones that I meant to see, whether I thought they were good or really bad, but fun to watch. Every movie that I'd heard was notable in one way or another that I did not see. And here's my list. So if everyone's thinking, what a stupid list, or why didn't you have a list? Here's what I did not see. Stoker, Oz the Great and Powerful, The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, Inappropriate Comedy, Olympus Has Fallen, The Croods, G.I. Joe Retaliation, The Place Beyond the Pines, Evil Dead, Oblivion, 42, Mud, The Iceman, Star Trek Into Darkness, Fast and Furious 6, The Hangover Part 3, The Internship, The Bling Ring, Despicable Me 2, The Heat, White House Down, The Lone Ranger, The Way Way Back, Pacific Rim, Fruitvale Station, Grown Ups 2, R.I.P.D., The World's End, The To-Do List, The Smurfs 2, The Spectacular Now, Elysium, Kick-Ass 2, The Butler, Riddick, Rush, Prisoners, Don John, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, Gravity, Captain Phillips, 12 Years a Slave, Carrie, The Fifth Estate, Ender's Game, Nebraska, The Best Man Holiday, The Hunger Games Catching Fire, Old Boy, Inside Llewellyn Davis, Out of the Furnace, American Hustle, Saving Mr. Banks, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, Anchorman 2, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, The Wolf of Wall Street. Those are all the ones that I intend to see at some point for either reason. But my God, that's a lot of movies.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
You do need to see some of those. Some of those you can probably skip.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I have 4 honorable mentions
Oh.
that didn't make my list.
All right.
But they're close. So the movies would be Jurassic Park 3D, because that came out in 3D this year. But I didn't put it on my list, even though it probably is the best thing I saw this year. But I didn't put it on my list because, obviously it came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Then The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was also a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite make the list, but a very good movie.
Huh.
The Kings of Summer, which was a really cool movie that kind of felt Spielbergian to me a little bit. I guess just because it had kids and whatnot, but
Right.
basically, it's a really cool coming of age kind of movie, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It has Nick Offerman in it. And then actually there are 2 more. Sorry, so 5. The next one is Mandela: The Long Walk to Freedom.
The Idris Elba one?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a good movie. I think it's important to see because, believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there that do not know who Nelson Mandela is. Don't know why he was important. So for that reason, I think it's a great movie on its own. But I think it's kind of important to see, especially if you don't know anything about Nelson. And then the last thing, obviously, is not obviously, because why would you obviously know what I'm about to say, is Gravity. Gravity was a good movie. As I sit back, it's one of those movies that you come out of the theater and you're like, oh, that was awesome. But as you kind of sit, allow it to kind of simmer for a little bit, you're like, yeah, it didn't really offer me anything new. There's some cool, CGI and some cool stuff, but it really didn't do anything that, revolutionary.
Right.
So for me, anyway, so those are my honorable mentions. They're great movies. They just, for whatever reason, didn't quite crack the top 10.
Okay.
So there you go.
Huh. All right. Well, I guess that concludes our countdown.
Whew, that was a lot.
Yeah, I know.
We covered a whole lot, man.
Yeah, we did. I would like to remind the listeners that if you have comments or questions, you can email us at hoopercast@gmail.com, all lowercase. You can catch Dustin at the Mind Gorilla on tumblr.com. And pretty soon, the HooperCast itself is going to be moving to Tumblr. So if you listen to this on YouTube, then you can still watch it here, and you can still get this YouTube link at Tumblr. We'll be embedding them. But, I think perhaps a lot of you use Tumblr, and maybe we can get more of you to and more of your friends to listen to the podcast on such a platform. So look out for that in the next month or so.
2014.
Yes.
The year of our Lord, 2014. It's going to be a big year for the HooperCast. You people that are out there listening, you don't even know. You don't even know what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Some stuff's about to happen.
That's right.
You don't even know it. You don't even know it yet. But guess what? One day, you'll come back to this podcast, you'll re-listen to it, and you'll say, oh, I know what they were talking about. Because I lived it.
That's right.
2014, baby.
2014, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you don't take offense to that, because I'd like you to keep listening. I didn't just call you motherfuckers in a bad way. I consider that a term of endearment. Like, Dustin, I love you. You're like one of my favorite motherfuckers out there.
That's so nice.
I know.
I appreciate
You're just
that.
like, oh, thank you, Hooper. I wish I could write a fucking Hallmark card that says that on it. Like, I love you, motherfucker.
That would be awesome.
I know. And that person would be like, I'm so honored. No one's ever called me their motherfucker before.
It's true. It's true. Samuel L. Jackson should do that, by the way.
Yeah. Like, it's one of the ones where you open it up and there's the little speaker in there that makes the noise. It should be like, I love you, motherfucker!
Yes. That would be awesome. They should totally do that. I don't know why they haven't.
I know. We better cut that out so we can make some money off of it.
I know, for real.
Yeah. Also, speaking
But
of
it's
making
true.
money, if any of you like the podcast and you want to show us a little bit of love, pretty soon, maybe by the time that this episode is posted, we will have a PayPal account and we will have a link to it so you can leave us a virtual tip. If you like the podcast, you want to throw us a little something, a penny, or something, like $1, $50, $5,000, whatever you want to give, whatever you think the episode is worth. Or if you want to subscribe at some rate, like $2 a month or something low. I mean, purely if you want to. We're not really relying on that.
It's a tip.
We're not. Yeah, it's a tip. Dustin and I are your waiters. We are your hosts, and we want to give you good service. And we hope that it's good enough to warrant some kind of a tip. But that's really up to you. So,
Exactly.
if you'd like to do that, please leave us a virtual tip in the PayPal account, and hell, we'll even give you a shout out for it. Especially if you
Indeed.
subscribe. I'll talk about you every podcast. I'll be like, hey, Neil 69 is like my favorite dude because he gives us $2 a month. Neil,
Indeed.
Yeah,
And let's also talk a little bit about where that money's going to go.
yes,
So your tip, that doesn't just go into my pocket so I can buy, an awesome
Heroin.
action figure at Toys R Us. Wow, one of those things was very adult and the other was very childish. And I think it says a lot about us, Hooper. Okay. I'm now worried about you. But that money doesn't go into my pocket.
your
That
money
goes-
will not go to Dustin's toys or my crippling heroin addiction. It will go somewhere useful.
I will make sure it doesn't go to pay for his drugs, if I can. I'm obviously in a different state than he is, so if he buys drugs, I can't do much about it. But that money gets funneled back into the podcast, and like I said, 2014 is going to be a big year for us. It'd be awesome to have a little bit of revenue coming in so that we can put it back into the podcast as we move forward. So that's where your virtual tip goes. So there you go.
We'd like to get to the point where we can put the podcast on iTunes. We'd like to be able to put this out there for people to be able to download onto their mobile devices and take with them somewhere where they don't have to use internet to be able to listen to us. But we can't do that without a domain name and hosting, and we really just can't justify that right now with the amount that we're bringing in currently. So it's just kind of a goal we'd like to hit at some point, and it happens faster when there is revenue of some degree. So that's up to you guys. So if you think it's worth it, leave us a tip. If not, whatever, don't do it. But
Nobody's making you.
no one's making you. God, I mean,
Podcast's still free.
I can buy heroin by myself. I don't need your money. It's
Bunch
not like
of
I want your help
freeloaders.
or anything. I don't need you. It's not like you're
Bunch
like
of jerks.
support me or whatever. But if you
You're
want
also
to,
selfish.
yeah, you're just, what you can use that money for anyway. You're probably gonna buy yourself heroin. You selfish bastards! Why don't you buy me my heroin, please? I have a family.
Why are you
okay?
like,
I can't
hey,
afford
I'm
to
gonna
spend my
absorb
daughter's
this
savings
information that
and
they're
her
giving
college
me,
money on my bricks
but
of
I'm not gonna
heroin.
give them anything
I'm
in
gonna shoot
return.
into my arm. God.
It's ridiculous.
I know. Anyway, all right. Well, that's it for episode 50 of the HooperCast. Dustin, here's to 50 more.
Woo!
Woo!
50.
50.
Virtual glass clink.
Virtual glass clink. Clinky.
Clinky.
All right, well,
Ice
stay tuned for
sloshing
episode
around in
51. We're going to talk about something, but probably not a movie that's released in January because there just aren't any good ones. So,
Indeed.
stay tuned because Dustin, I think we will be making retro reviews a recurring segment on the show because I do have some retro reviews stored away.
Yeah.
So, look forward to
Sounds
those. Until then, This is Mr. Hooper.
And this is Dustin. I don't know if you actually paused for me or if you were
I
pausing
did.
for
I
something
did.
else,
I was hoping you'd pick up on it.
Well, this is Dustin.
And we're saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh my God! What the hell was that noise? Oh my God!
That was a brachiosaurus in my room.
Oh my I will come for you in the night, and I will pick you up and throw you into the and throw you into the pits of hell, motherfucker! Oh my God! Oh my God, that's so hard to do. I will fucking kill you! I will fucking... Oh God! Ow. Oh Jesus!
That's a really mad Donald
It
Duck.
really hurts to do. No! Nevermore! Oh!
I'm Batman.
Could you tell what I was saying, or does it just sound like screams?
No, I could tell what you were saying.
Could you tell I was saying I'll pick you up and throw you into the pits of hell, motherfucker?
Yes, and then nevermore.
Nevermore, yeah. It happens in the Page Master. At some point, like they're in, because it's like all about libraries and stuff. They go to the horror section, and then a raven screams down. It says "Nevermore" because it's a reference to Edgar Allan Poe. That's what I was doing.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Anyway, all right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. That ending is ridiculous. John's in for a surprise when he listens to this one. Good God.